My girlfriend keeps having a secret conversation every morning. Now, I'm going to be homeless because of her. My girlfriend, 26F, and I, 32M, have been dating for a few months. Recently, my job shifted to full-time remote work, so I've been staying over at her place more often. Everything seemed great, except for one thing. When I used to stay over and leave early for work, my girlfriend would stay in bed until after I left. But once I started working from her place, she suddenly became an early riser, always getting up about 20 minutes before me. When I asked her about it, she just said she enjoys having a quiet coffee in the mornings. I tried making fresh coffee a couple of times and offering her a cup to enjoy together, but no matter where I sat, she would move to a different spot. This started bothering me a lot, so I talked to her about wanting to sit together in the mornings. It didn't go well, and the next day when I tried to join her, she went into her office and locked the door. She did this for several days in a row last week, and whenever I tried to bring it up, she said she didn't want to talk about it. Yesterday was my day off, so I stayed in bed until she got up for her quiet coffee. I then snuck up to her office and overheard her talking to someone. I couldn't hear much, but it sounded like an intimate conversation. I haven't spoken much to her since, and I don't know what to say. How do you address this when she refuses to talk about it? What is she getting from another relationship when I am with her 24/7 for the past 2 weeks? I do have a small camera I could put in her office, although I know it's wrong. But this situation is driving me crazy, and having evidence might make it easier to confront her. Lately, I noticed my girlfriend avoiding me in the mornings. Every day, she would spend a short time alone, insisting she just wanted a quiet coffee. During one of these morning sessions, I overheard her talking to someone, and it made me curious about who she was talking to every morning. Today, when she went to make coffee, I jokingly took her mug and teased her about it. But when she got upset and demanded her mug back, I lost my temper and accused her of cheating on me. I might have messed up because she's been doing this every day since her dad passed almost a year ago. She talks to him every morning while she drinks her coffee, just chatting about her day or stuff. I stepped back right away and sat down. I told her it's okay and she should keep doing it because I want her to. I just needed to know. I thought she was talking to some other guy. She shook her head and said it was just a silly thing and she couldn't keep doing it now. She had to talk about it. I don't know why knowing what she's doing matters. It could have stopped all this. She seemed sad but smiled, so I went into the bedroom, but just a minute later, I heard her crying really hard. I went back and asked if she's talking about her dad being gone, and she just ran out the door. She hasn't answered my texts, and about an hour ago, her brother came and called me a mean name and worse. I honestly thought he was gonna hit me. He took some of her stuff and said she won't be home tonight. I didn't mean to upset her. It's normal to want to know who your partner talks to every morning, right? I'm sorry she's upset, but am I really in the wrong? Update 1. My girlfriend and I argued last week over coffee, which was silly. Things got out of hand, and she went somewhere else to cool off. Now, she's only talking to me through her brother, who doesn't like me much. He says I need to move out in 3 days so she can come back, but I don't have anywhere to go, and finding a place so fast is hard. I know if I could talk to her, we could fix this, but everything's going through him, and I'm worried he's twisting things to keep us apart. She's blocked me on everything, and her phone is here, so I can't reach her. How do I get past her brother and talk to her? I need to sort things out, or I'll have nowhere to stay. She's taken leave from her job, but her work phone and laptop are here, so maybe I could use her job to convince her to talk to me. The house belongs to her, but I have a key and live here full time. I don't drive, and money's tight. Plus, I need the internet for my job, and I've been using a laptop that's not mine. I have to talk to her, or it's over. I believe we can work this out, but her brother's making it hard. I don't have anywhere else to go. I'm not saying I'm homeless lately. I haven't been contributing because I'm dealing with a lease on my old place, but I was planning to very soon. My girlfriend owns the house, so I wasn't neglecting my responsibilities by not paying rent or anything. We've been together for a few months, and I've been staying here for a few weeks because of some lease trouble at my old place. One reason her brother doesn't like me is because his friend's dad owns my old building, but that's got nothing to do with me and his sister. He's just being mean. I don't have much stuff, just a suitcase of clothes and a few other things. I haven't been able to pick up my stuff from my old place. My big problem is not having access to a computer since I need it for my job, and I've been using one here. Right now, I only have about $400 and another $70 in cash. I had a disagreement with the landlord, and he won't let me get my things. You two would get along well, always seeing the worst in things. Are you just making up your own story here? I had a problem with the landlord, so I left, which is normal. This has nothing to do with anything else, and her brother has no reason to dislike me. I ended my lease at my old apartment, so I can't go back there. It's tough to find a place here without a reference, and I probably don't have enough for a deposit. Most of my money is tied up in deals right now, and I'd lose a lot if I tried to get it back. Her brother threatened to drag me out if I'm not gone by Wednesday. I'm pretty sure if I leave, I won't be able to get back in. Yesterday, I walked to the store, and on my way back, I saw her brother drive past, so I hurried back, but I think someone on the street is telling him when I leave. He didn't stop, just drove past, and he saw me in the window but didn't stop. The problem is, once I'm out, it'd be tough to prove I live there. If he physically gets me out, he could tell the cops I'm just some crazy guy, and the neighbors might back him up. It wouldn't surprise me if he's already arranged this with the neighbor who's telling him when I leave. I really need advice on how to get around her brother and talk to her. This isn't a big fight, and we can sort it out easily if I can just talk to her. Am I supposed to just give up and say, oh well, her brother says it's over, guess I'll just pack up and live in a park? You don't know what's going on, and you'd pat him on the back for pushing me into homelessness. That says a lot about you. It was just a dumb thing. My girlfriend's upset about other stuff, and she's mixing it all up into this one thing. If she'd just calm down and let me talk to her, we could sort this out in 5 minutes, but he's been filling her head with poison for 3 days. Her brother is being a bully, though. He's getting between two adults and using his size to stop us from talking. He's the one using mean words, threatening violence, and saying he'll make someone homeless. If I posted this from the other side, I'm a landlord, and I'm using my brother to kick someone out and refusing to let them talk, you'd all be all over it. How is this advice fair? If I'd followed your advice and installed the cameras, this would have been resolved quickly and quietly with no harm done. I should have just listened to you instead of people telling me to use my words.
My husband let me visit his family over the weekend for some bonding time. Now, I think his sister is trying to unalive me and make it my last visit I ever do. 3 days ago, my husband and I went to see his parents for the weekend at their house by the lake. His sister, who's in college, was there too because it's summertime. We spent a lot of time at the lake because the weather was super nice. Some strange stuff went down, though. I always felt a bit weird around my husband's younger sister. When we first met, it seemed like she didn't like being around me much. Even when we did talk, it felt like she was kinda mean. But I thought maybe I was just misunderstanding her. When we got married last year, I even asked her to be one of my bridesmaids. But she was a real pain during all that. My other bridesmaids told me she said mean things to them and acted grumpy at the parties. She even made weird faces at the decorations and cake. But I thought, maybe that's just how she is. At the lake, though, some things happened that made me feel really uneasy. When we got there, my husband's sister had some friends from college over. We all hung out in the water together. At one point, we started a big chicken fight, which was fun at first. But then some people, including my husband, went off to do something else. His sister asked me to do another round with just her and her two friends left. I said okay and let her climb on my shoulders. But instead of getting on properly, she ended up on top of my head and wouldn't move when I tried to get her off. I couldn't even come up for air. It felt like forever until I finally got her off. What made it weirder was that her friends didn't seem to notice or care. When I got my head above water, she just laughed weirdly and got out. I was really shaken, but I didn't say anything because I thought maybe it was an accident. My husband's parents have this watercraft called a Sea-Doo that they let people with a special license use. Since I don't have that license, I mostly just rode behind my husband while he drove. But my husband's sister offered me a ride, and I thought it might be a chance for us to get along better, so I said yes. I did tell her I was nervous about it, though, and to be careful. But she was not careful at all. She kept trying to jump the Sea-Doo over the waves from passing boats, making really sharp turns super fast. I had to hold on really tight just to stay on. Sometimes it felt like we were about to fall off. But I didn't say anything because I thought maybe she didn't realize how scary it was. Later, my husband's dad got mad at her for trying to splash my husband while he was in the water. He told her it was dangerous. After a while, it was just me and my husband's sister on the Sea-Doo, and she came way too close to me, splashing me with water. It was closer than she ever got to my husband. Then, at dinner yesterday, my husband's sister made a big pot of tomato rice and said it didn't have any dairy in it, so I could eat it. I trusted her and had some, but soon after, I felt really sick. I had to leave the table and spent the rest of the night throwing up. I felt so weak, and it was hard to breathe. Luckily, I had my EpiPen just in case, but it was a terrible experience. The explanation I got later was that my husband's sister added butter to the tomato rice to make it creamier but forgot to mention it to me before I ate it. It seems like it could be a mistake, but with everything else that happened this weekend, I'm starting to feel suspicious. I don't know if I'm overreacting or just being paranoid, but I can't shake the feeling that maybe my husband's sister meant to harm me. I feel like I'm going crazy. Here are some examples I remember. After my friend showed us pictures of her dog, a doodle, my husband's sister made a comment like, "I don't know why people even get doodles, they're so unethical." She also commented on how much my friend put on her plate during a girls' night out. Later that night, she made a comment about another friend's makeup being from the drugstore, which made her uncomfortable. Yes, she did apologize for the rice incident. My husband was really mad at her and told her off for being careless. He thinks it was just a dumb mistake on her part. But I'm going to tell him about the other things too. My relationship with my sister-in-law is strange. Sometimes she's really friendly to me, and I think maybe we're getting closer. But then things like this happen, and it confuses me even more. I don't know why she doesn't like me. I really wanted to have a good relationship with her, but maybe that's just not possible. I was having a hard time saying anything when she was sitting on me in the lake. By the time I caught my breath, she was already out of the water, and I wasn't sure if I should even be mad. I thought maybe she was wondering why I wasn't lifting her up. I didn't feel as comfortable calling her out as I would with a real sister. It all happened so fast. Looking back, I know I should have said something to someone about it, but yeah. My therapist says I really like making people happy. My husband and I help each other a bunch because he's more outgoing and doesn't mind dealing with tough situations. I know I need to set better limits, and I'm trying to do that. Update 1. I talked to my husband about how his sister treated me last weekend. I was planning to sit him down and tell him straight up about my worries with her, but her name came up naturally in our talk, so I used that to tell him about what happened last weekend. As I went through each not-so-nice thing she did, my husband believed me and was mad for me about what happened. He also supports me wanting to keep my distance from her from now on. He said to tell him if she ever does anything like that again. He still thinks the dairy thing was an accident. She was really upset about it. Turns out, my sister-in-law has acted like this before. After I told my husband about what happened, he told me she's had a history of pushing boundaries like this, although never this bad. When they were kids, he had to help her out because she made some people really mad. He thought she'd gotten better lately, which is why he was surprised when I told him what she did. She's been in therapy for a long time now for some mental and behavior stuff. My husband was angry at her for what she did to me, but he doesn't think she meant to hurt me, just test me, although really recklessly. I agree with him, but I'm still being cautious. He thinks she targeted me because I'm quiet and might not stand up to her, but it's not because of anything I did. Yes, I asked. So from now on, I'll try to keep my talks with her short at family stuff. I'll still be nice, but I won't be alone with her anymore, and my husband's okay with that. He said he'll step in if needed to keep it that way. It's disappointing to know I might never have a great relationship with my sister-in-law like I hoped. I was excited to have a sister. Oh well. I get along with the rest of his family, and I have awesome friends who are like sisters to me in their own way. I don't judge anyone for going through mental health stuff. I have my own issues, and I don't want to make my sister-in-law's disorder seem worse when I talk about them. As far as I know from my husband, she had some behavior problems as a kid, then got diagnosed with bipolar disorder and ADHD. She might also have autism, which would make sense because a lot of her family, including my husband and me, have it. But having these disorders doesn't excuse her actions, and I don't want anyone thinking they do. It's good he's on your side. But, she did try to dunk you underwater, so I'm not sure why he doesn't think she was trying to hurt you too, but okay. It's a bummer you won't have that bond with her, but at least it's not your fault. She clearly has some things she needs to work out. What about when you have kids? Will you leave them with your in-laws when she's around and you're not there? Just make sure you and your husband talk about this before having kids. My husband thinks she was just playing rough, not trying to drown me. I'm not sure about that, so I'll be careful around her in the future. Neither of us wants kids, so that's not something we have to worry about. My boyfriend joked about wanting to sleep with my lesbian sister. He started getting nervous when he saw me start packing his bags, and now, I found something inside it that'll put him to sleep in the streets. I, 23F, have been with my boyfriend, 26M, for about 4 years. I met him through my sister, 27F, who's been his best friend since freshman year. She's a lesbian, and she's marrying her girlfriend in October. We've always been close, like regular siblings. Sometimes we argued, but we always worked it out because she's my best friend. Our parents have always supported both of us, and when she came out, they were like, oh, we knew. When can we meet her? I've always had some trouble with guys liking me because my sister is the prettier and more outgoing one between us, but she's always helped me feel better about myself. And joked about me becoming a lesbian to avoid awkward guys. My boyfriend always made me feel good, told me I was special to him, talked about us starting a family together, all that stuff. He was my first kiss, the one I lost my virginity to, all the typical romance movie stuff. Well, last night, after we finished being intimate, he randomly said, sometimes when we're together, I pretend I'm with your sister. He saw how upset I was and quickly tried to take it back, saying, that was a few years ago, not now. I don't know why I said that, I'm sorry, and kept apologizing, trying to make it better. I asked him straight up if he was cheating on me with my sister, and he said no, that he was just caught up in the moment, and didn't mean it. Now I'm at my sister and her girlfriend's place, crying my eyes out because I don't know what I did wrong. I thought I finally found a guy who liked me for me, not because of my sister, but I was wrong. I feel like I wasted years of my life on him for nothing. He's been texting me a lot, at first saying sorry and begging me to come back, but now he's saying things like, you're overreacting, you can't take a joke. I feel like I don't even know my boyfriend anymore. You're definitely not the one who can't take a joke. He's crazy to think what he said was okay. It was mean and really not nice. I'm sorry, but you deserve better. I don't know what to do now. My parents have been dropping hints that he might propose, and everything seemed perfect until the other day. Geez, what a mean person. I don't think there's any fixing that. I'm sorry, Op, but at least he showed his true colors before things got too serious. You'll find someone who loves you for who you are. You're not crazy at all, so don't worry about that. That wasn't a joke, trust me. I've made some silly jokes before, but I would never say something like that to my partner, especially after being intimate. I know it hurts, but if you respect yourself, you'll end things with him. I'm really sorry and wish you the best. I'm not sure if he was joking because he often makes dark jokes about how my sister and I are similar but with different preferences. Maybe he meant it in a funny way, and I just didn't get it, but I'm not sure anymore. That's not right. Family jokes should always have limits, even when you're feeling happy after being intimate. I might not have minded if he said something like, sometimes I imagine you're Taylor Swift, since we joke about that sometimes, but outside of the bedroom. But bringing my sister into it felt like he went too far. Update 1. So, I went to her apartment the day after my first post, and my boyfriend was there, along with my sister and her girlfriend, Mel. He immediately asked why they were interrupting his game night and called it an intervention. I asked him to turn off the computer and come to the living room. After finishing a Fortnite match, he finally joined us. I asked him if he meant what he said, and then I asked my sister and Mel to go into the kitchen. He said he didn't mean it and had already forgotten about it, even though I hadn't been home in 4 days. I told him to pack his things and leave, but he refused and started to get up. My sister and Mel came back in and told him to go. Again, he refused, saying it was his house. I asked him whose name was on the rent, but he said it didn't matter because he lived there. So, I decided to take action. I got a duffel bag from our room and started packing for him. He panicked and said he would pack if I just left the room. I didn't trust him with my things because I have a lot of antique jewelry and stuff, which I didn't want him to take. At the bottom of the duffel bag, I found several love glove wrappers, some used and some unused. No, we didn't keep our used love gloves in a duffel bag after being intimate, and no, we didn't lend them to a friend. You might be wondering, what could have happened? Well, the answer is, he cheated on me. He claimed he was sleeping with my sister, my lesbian sister? Yes, that sister. Mel, my sister, and I told him to stop lying and that he had 5 minutes to pack before we called the police. My sister, the lesbian, said if anything was missing, we would file a report. After he left, who knows where, me and the girls had a cry fest, well, mostly just me, and my sister kept reassuring me that she would never be with anyone I was with, male or not, which I totally believe. He's been bombarding my phone, my sister's phone, and even Mel's phone, I don't know how he got it, with messages saying he's homeless and wants me back or wants my sister, and he's been saying really mean things about Mel. We've blocked him, and hopefully, he's out of our lives for good. I'm so glad I'm out of that relationship. It hurt for a while, which is why I didn't update immediately, but now I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. Plus, now I get to redecorate my apartment without him vetoing any colors or plants. I'm proud of you for having enough self-respect to not give him another chance. Rock on, Queen. Is there any chance he has a spare key to the apartment? If so, you need to change the locks. Also, consider getting some in-home cameras for your rooms and the door. I wouldn't put it past him to try breaking in to get more stuff or to seek revenge. I'm changing the locks today. I put a cheap master lock on the door, not the most secure, I know, so that should do for now until I change them. Tell him to go and stay with one of his other partners. He's blocked, but his mom called, and she was not happy with what she heard from me. Apparently, she's thinking about disowning him, so that's another win for me, to be honest. My boyfriend spent our anniversary date with his gay best friend. He just came back after staying at his place until 4 a.m., and now, I'm thinking our relationship is spent. My 26F boyfriend, 25M, made plans with his friends this week on our first date anniversary. This would be our first time celebrating our anniversary together, and we've been talking about it for a while. We both kept getting mixed up on the days because we've been super busy with work, but we knew it was coming this month. Before I realized which day our anniversary was, he told me about his plans because he couldn't see me that day. Our work schedules don't always match up, so he always checks with me if he's got plans on a day off, just in case one of us is expecting to meet after work. Since I didn't realize his plans lined up with our anniversary, I told him it was okay and that I was really excited for him to go. But today, I finally figured out we goofed. I know it might seem silly, but I feel really sad about it. It's our first anniversary, and it feels like a bummer to miss it. And I'm a little bummed that he made plans for that day too, even though I know it's not fair since I got mixed up too. But I wish he had remembered, even if I didn't. I know that's not really fair, but I'm just telling you how I feel. I'm not sure if I should talk to him about it. I feel like I can't ask him to cancel his plans now that I said it's okay, and he already promised his friends. I did mention today that our anniversary is that day, but he didn't say anything about not being together to celebrate. I was kinda hoping he might offer to cancel. I'm thinking about asking my boss if I can take the day off since it's his day off too, and maybe we can do something before or after his plans. But in the past, he hasn't wanted to see me when he already made plans. I know we could celebrate on another day, and that we will have more anniversaries in the future, but it just feels very sad that we messed this first one up. Should I tell him how upset I am, or would that just be unnecessary guilt? I think you're right to not ask him to change his plans, or try to pile more plans on top of a day when he's already busy. Just let him know you'd like to plan something special on another day soon, and then you can both enjoy doing something together on another day without looking at the clock to see when he has to rush off to his other thing. That said, it's fine to be honest about the fact that you're feeling a little sad that you both mixed up the dates here, as long as you recognize that doesn't mean either of you has to do anything about that other than make your backup plan for another day. My boyfriend has a friend, let's call him Dave, who has expressed his feelings for him. Dave is a work colleague, and they've been friends for a while. Dave is openly gay, and we've met several times, and I never had any problems with him. We seem to get along quite well. This all started a few months ago. Dave and my boyfriend live on the same road, and after a night out with his work colleagues, they were dropped off together at Dave's house, where my boyfriend planned to walk home. That night I had been messaging my boyfriend before bed, and at around 3 a.m., he messaged me he was on his way home. I was asleep by then. The next morning I woke up to see the 3 a.m. message, and saw that just after 5 a.m., he messaged to say that he was home. I found this a little odd since the place he was going home from was about 30 minutes away, though I thought maybe he just forgot to reply. When he woke up, I asked him about his night and how late he got home. He told me that the whole work crew was being dropped off in the same Uber, so it took him about an hour to get back, but this confused me even more because that wouldn't explain the 5 a.m. message. I asked if he ended up doing afters at Dave's house, but he said no and just left it at that. He didn't even say he forgot to message or anything to explain the missing hour. I found it a bit strange but left it alone, even though his responses were a little out of character, and I could tell he wasn't telling me something. The next date night we had, he finally let it slip that he wasn't telling me everything about that night. He told me that while he was walking home, Dave, who had already gone home since the Uber dropped them at his house, suddenly started running after him. He told me that Dave told him that he's had strong feelings for him for who knows how long, and that he was interested in starting something with him. My boyfriend said he was really in shock, and that he reminded him that he was straight and has a girlfriend who he's met. Dave asked if any part of him would be interested in trying anything, and my boyfriend said no. I wasn't super happy about what happened, just a little bothered that he tried to talk to him that night, but I asked him why he didn't just tell me about it right away instead of keeping it a secret. He said he thought I might get upset, and when I asked why, he ended up telling me more. Turns out, while Dave was telling my boyfriend how he felt, he was also saying mean things about me. Dave doesn't know me too well, but we got along fine the times we met. He was telling my boyfriend that I'm not good enough for him and that he could do better, among other things. That really hurt my feelings. Not only did he try to get my boyfriend to cheat, but he also said some really mean stuff. They ended up talking for an hour in the rain. My boyfriend joked it was the most romantic thing ever, but I don't know how much my boyfriend stuck up for me or told Dave it wasn't cool. But he did make it clear it wasn't okay. Since then, I've been uncomfortable with my boyfriend and Dave's friendship. I don't want to be the kind of girlfriend who doesn't like her boyfriend's friends, but I felt like Dave went too far. Still, they're always together because they work together and hang out a lot on days off. The thing is, it's bothering me more and more. Yesterday, I found out my boyfriend made plans with his friends, the work ones, on our anniversary. They're playing D&D, and Dave went over to help my boyfriend make his character. My boyfriend made it sound like a group was helping, but it was just Dave. I found out because we were on a video call when Dave showed up at my boyfriend's door. My boyfriend said he'd call me back when Dave left, but it got really late and he didn't call. When I asked if he was free, he said Dave was still there, and they were having drinks. I had to work, so I went to bed, and we said we'd talk today. Today we talked, and my boyfriend said he's really hungover and that Dave stayed until about 4 a.m. last night. I asked what happened since it wasn't supposed to be a big night, and he said they started with beers but then switched to margaritas and lost track of time. I asked what they did for so long, 9.5 hours? And he said it took them about 3 hours to make his D&D character. After that, Dave wanted my boyfriend to teach him how to DJ. My boyfriend makes music. I didn't say anything more than just asking what happened, and he's seeing Dave again tonight for D&D. This whole thing has really bothered me. Call me insecure, but I'm not okay with my boyfriend spending all night alone with someone who's into him, especially someone who disrespected me to try and get with him. I know my boyfriend isn't gay, but it feels the same as if it were a girl interested in him. Even if nothing's going to happen, it feels like he's encouraging someone who doesn't respect our relationship. Should I talk to my boyfriend about this? What would I even say? No one said it yet, so I will. It sounds like your boyfriend doesn't know how to tell Dave to stop. Maybe he's worried about seeming mean or being called homophobic by Dave for turning him down. Some people see rejection as an attack on who they are and can react really harshly. Lots of people have had their lives messed up because someone accused them of being prejudiced for not liking them back. Dave seems pretty mean, so if your boyfriend said he was scared of him causing trouble, I believe it. Just an idea, though. You're right to feel upset and want it to end. I just think your boyfriend might be stuck, especially if he's anxious or tends to want everyone to like him. If it was a girlfriend who confessed her feelings and your boyfriend went out and got drunk and stayed over at her place, I'd say he's probably into her or about to be. It doesn't matter if it's a gay guy. Your boyfriend seems to enjoy attention and dislike boundaries. I wouldn't stick around. So instead of keeping Dave at a distance to protect your relationship, your boyfriend is treating you and Dave like two different parts of his life. That's not good. You really need to sit down with him without any distractions. I agree. I messaged him to say we need to talk, but he's still at this D&D game. Apparently a different friend drove him there, so he says he can't leave until that friend is ready to go. I told him we have to talk tonight. With all the advice I've gotten, I'm not willing to wait any longer to have this conversation. Update 1: My boyfriend and I had a long talk last night, and a lot of what you all said helped me put my feelings into words about this situation. So my boyfriend called me right after he got home from the D&D game, and I didn't waste any time. I told him straight up that I'm uncomfortable with Dave staying over until 4 a.m., just the two of them, and getting drunk. He seemed surprised and didn't realize it would bother me so much, and he asked me to explain why. I said it's not okay for him and Dave to spend the whole night together, especially since Dave has tried to get with him and disrespected both me and our relationship. I told him he needs boundaries with Dave after everything that's happened. He said Dave said those things a couple of months ago, and he doesn't think Dave still feels that way, or ever really did. He said Dave was super drunk when he confessed, so it wasn't serious, especially since he's not gay or curious, and doesn't like Dave back. I told him it doesn't matter if he took it seriously or not, it's serious to me, and I feel really disrespected by both of them. I said if it was a girl who confessed her feelings and they stayed up alone until 4 a.m., I'd immediately think something fishy was going on, because you don't spend that kind of time with someone like that when you're in a relationship. Just because Dave is a guy doesn't make it okay, and he should still have the same boundaries he would with a girl who's into him and talks bad about me. He didn't really agree because he said it's different. He said with a girl, there's a chance of attraction or something happening, but with Dave, there isn't. I told him in any situation, with anyone, there's a chance, no matter if he sees himself as straight. How can I trust nothing happened when Dave already said he wanted to be intimate with him, and they were very drunk and alone? How can I be okay with him choosing to spend one-on-one time with Dave until the early hours, knowing Dave doesn't like me or our relationship? At the very least, he's showing Dave it's okay to disrespect us, and Dave still has his attention after all this, maybe leading Dave on since he's attracted to my boyfriend. He said he gets where I'm coming from, but it wasn't like that, and he didn't plan for Dave to stay so late. I asked him to walk me through the whole night and explain why they needed to hang out for almost 10 hours. He said when Dave came over, they worked on his D&D character for about 3 hours, and had a couple of beers until Dave asked for something else to drink. Then they FaceTimed another coworker hosting the D&D event and stayed on call for like 2 hours or more, talking about work stuff. After that, he showed Dave his music and how to DJ, and they lost track of time. I asked him how they could lose so much time when I was messaging him around 11 p.m. to say goodnight. He knew the time then, so why wasn't Dave leaving? I told him the whole thing seemed suspicious, which he didn't like, asking me what I meant and saying it seems like I don't trust him. He said he honestly doesn't know how they stayed up so late and was surprised when he checked the time and asked Dave to leave as soon as he realized. He said he never thought anything was off and, from his view, Dave doesn't like him like that, so the night was innocent, just like before Dave confessed. I told him it can't go back to how it was, even if he thinks Dave has no ulterior motives. Dave put it out there, and it can't be taken back. Things need to change, and boundaries need to be set. Without that, he's leaving things open from Dave's side. He told me that at first, when this all happened, he distanced himself from Dave, except for work events, or group hangouts, which happen a lot, so I'm not sure how much of a distance that is. He said they haven't met up alone for like 2 months. I think they have, but I'll give him that he hasn't mentioned they've been alone at each other's houses since Dave confessed, mostly just at the pub if anything, but I could be wrong, he might not have mentioned if someone else joined them. I couldn't remember specific times where I thought they did, so I couldn't really argue on that one. Anyway, he said their friendship felt awkward, which he didn't communicate clearly to me. He always seemed like it didn't bother him, and it seemed like nothing changed between them. He told me they had a chat a few weeks ago, where Dave apologized and said he didn't mean what he said. He also said because it happened a few months ago, he's moved on and decided to forgive and forget. I told him he can forgive, but he can't forget because this happened, and their friendship needs to be different now for the sake of our relationship. I also asked why he didn't tell me about this talk, and he said he didn't think it was a big issue for me, so it didn't occur to him I'd want to know. Then we argued about how he doesn't share information with me, tells white lies, or leaves things out, including when the Dave thing first happened. I said I always tell him right away if anyone makes a move on me. I used an example of a friend, let's call him Bill, who touched me inappropriately on a night out and told my best friend he likes me. I called my boyfriend the same night, while he was on vacation, because I knew I'd see Bill at 2 upcoming events, including New Year's Eve, and I invited my boyfriend to both. He tried to deflect by saying he didn't know Bill verbally expressed feelings for me and that I only said I think Bill has a crush on me, which I thought was silly and told him he's just trying to justify his own actions. I asked if he'd be okay with me and Bill spending the whole night drinking together. He said obviously not, but, again, he thinks it's different, especially since the Bill thing happened more recently. I told him, by his reasoning, it'd be fine for me to do that as long as I waited a few weeks or months. We kept talking back and forth for a while. He said sorry for making me feel sad and uneasy and explained he didn't mean to, he just thought everything with Dave was over. He also said sorry if he seemed defensive. He admitted maybe he didn't realize things, but he truly didn't think Dave still liked him or had other plans in hanging out. He said it's harder now that Dave is his boss because Dave decides his work times and days off, and if he upsets Dave, it could affect all that. He asked if I wanted him to stop being friends with Dave because he's not sure how to do that with work and group stuff. He said it's a bit sad because Dave was a good buddy and they got along. I told him if Dave was really a good friend, he wouldn't have put us in this situation, but it's not my fault either. I said while I don't like them hanging out alone, I get he can't avoid Dave at work. He said he's okay with setting more rules to respect me, he just didn't know I was bothered this much. He also mentioned he's looking for a new job, so he won't have to deal with Dave as much soon. We talked about other stuff too, but it was late and I had work the next day. We'll talk more tonight and hopefully fix everything. My boyfriend thinks the car I won automatically belongs to him. Now, his family is trying to make me keep it, and I think I might not want to keep the relationship either. I, 23F, won a brand new compact car in a raffle at a trade show I attended for work a few weeks ago, which is amazing. However, I already have an older car that I really like, and I just finished paying it off. Now I can switch to cheaper liability-only insurance. My current car still has plenty of life left in it, with only about 100k miles. Plus, if I were to choose a new car, the one I won wouldn't be my top pick. After doing some research, I found out that after taxes and shipping, I can make about $14-15k from selling the car. That money would be a fantastic start after graduating college, more than tripling my savings. My boyfriend, 25M, has been without a car for a few months. He's been having some financial difficulties, so he hasn't been able to get a new one yet. However, he can walk to the grocery store, get a ride to work, and I drive us anywhere else we need to go. It's been working out fine, and I don't mind at all. He helps out with gas and driving. Just for context, he lives with friends, while I live with my dad rent-free, so I've been able to save up money. I definitely see a future with him, but we haven't discussed moving in together yet, though we are very serious about each other. I went to a gathering at his parents' house last night, and everyone congratulated me on winning the car. However, everyone, including my boyfriend, seemed to think the obvious thing to do was to either give the car to him or give him my current car and keep the new one. I don't plan on doing either of these things. It would be different if we were married or living together and sharing finances, but we're not at that point in our relationship. I don't feel it's my responsibility to give him what essentially amounts to $15,000 in cash. If I had won the money instead, nobody would be suggesting that I just give it all to him. The car and the money from selling it should rightfully be mine. It's not fair for me to feel pressured into providing him with a free car, whether it's my current $5,000 car that I really like or this brand new one. During dinner at his family's house, I stayed quiet because I was so shocked by their assumption and didn't want to cause a scene in front of his entire extended family. How do I gently communicate to him and his family that this car and the money from it are not his in any way? Update 1. The day after the family gathering where everyone assumed I'd just let my boyfriend use the car for free, I had to drive into the city where I won the car to sign some paperwork and pay fees. Since we both had the day off, I asked my boyfriend if he'd like to come along and we could walk around the city and grab some food afterward. He agreed, and I picked him up. We hadn't talked about the night before at all. During the drive, he asked some general questions about what I had to do that day, and I explained everything, including how the taxes on the car were going to be several $1,000s. Luckily, I could cover them with my savings until I sold the car, hopefully for around $14-15K, based on my brother's estimates. There was a moment of quiet in the car, and then he asked, "You don't want to keep it?" I replied no, explaining that I was happy with my older, bigger car, which better suits our needs, and I can pay cheaper insurance on it because it's already paid off. He seemed surprised by the amount of taxes. After a bit of awkward silence, I finally asked, "Did your family think I'd give you the car to use?" He explained that his mom had told everyone right before I arrived that we, meaning him and I, had won the car and that he'd finally have something to drive. He admitted that he didn't think I'd actually do that, but he assumed I'd want to keep the new car simply because it was new and maybe I'd let him use my old car if he took over the insurance payments. Then he quickly added that he didn't realize the taxes would be so high. I guess his thinking made sense given what he assumed about the costs. Eventually, we agreed that selling the new car made the most sense. I asked if he was planning to explain that to his mother, and he assured me that he would. He mentioned that his mother sees us as a married couple already because she wants that so much for him and has been pushing him to propose to me. That was news to me. Neither of us feels ready for that yet. We're content with where we are in our relationship. He promised to talk to his mom and clarify everything to his family, assuring me that he wouldn't let them think any less of me, which was a concern of mine. So, he patiently waited while I dealt with the paperwork for the raffle, which ended up taking over 3 hours, and afterward, we enjoyed a lovely time strolling around the city. I treated us to a very nice dinner. It was a pleasant end to a somewhat awkward situation.